The Boston City Council is beginning a new year with a new leader, its first Asian American president. To talk about her goals and some changes already made, we'd like to welcome the Council President, Michelle Wu. Thank you very much for being with us, and congratulations.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
First of all, talk about some of the other changes. We have two new members in the Council, so how does this feel, the chemistry that you have now?
Yes, so Councilors Andrea Campbell and Councilor Nisa Asabi-George are new to the role. We were all sworn in together on a couple weeks ago in the beginning of January. They are replacing two councilors who together had served the city of Boston for over 50 years. So it is a shift of focus and priorities, and we've spent a lot of time having conversations about what each one of my colleagues wants to get done this term.
Well, people in the media in this town, myself included, we sometimes get accused of spending more attention on the vote for council president than what happens after it. So why would you want to be a president?
Yes, I would agree with your earlier sentiment, and I hope that the follow-through and the scrutiny and the attention continues. It's a role that's really about supporting my colleagues on the council. I had decided that no matter what this next term, I wanted to support a council president who'd be focused on transparency, telling the story of the council, pushing us to really get things done effectively. And then I got through the election, looked at my own record, and realized that these are the things that I care very much about. So as I said, the goal is to better connect people to the workings of the City Council, our business, and to better match residents' needs and the issues they face.
And talk about transparency. Is this just about the councilors making sure everything that they themselves do is above board, or is this about transparency for city government, in a more general way?
This is about engagement with residents. Right now, if you're a resident at home and you want to find out how to get involved, you have an idea for a transportation solution or an arts program, you can email the City Council to request information on previous hearings or meetings, but you can't go online and find the documents attached to anything. You can't easily search what dockets are where and what's already been filed and who's in control of it. I want to make sure that every single one of our dockets is out there proactively so that anybody who wants to get involved can at the very least get up to speed, get informed, and then participate.
You've also made some changes not only in the composition of committees, but in some of the committee structures themselves, especially with public safety. We've had public safety for eons. Now it's public safety and criminal justice.
I really wanted to make sure that this council tackles the major issues that are facing Boston residents, but also across the country. And we have 13 strong advocates on the council. There's a very strong interest by many of my colleagues to say we need to do something about criminal justice reform. Particularly, our new colleague, Councilor Andrea Campbell, has an interest, and so that committee, which she is chairing, has now been revamped to include the purview not just of law enforcement and safety and really making sure residents are safe, but reducing recidivism and supporting the formerly incarcerated as they are reintegrating into society.
Yeah, now, we also no longer have the Committee on Oversight and Post-Audit, that long chaired by Charles Yancey, the predecessor in District 4. People say that, they can question his methods, but he was looking at some serious issues about hiring and procurement. Does that mean they're going to get less attention now, maybe?
No, absolutely not. There were a few committees that were folded into others. My goal was to make sure that there were 13 very strong policy committees, substantive committees, that would match each of the councilors' best interests and goals. And after extensive conversations with each councilor, and after an extensive rating system where each councilor was asked to rank which committees they wanted to serve on and in what order, we came up with the current setup. The post-audit committee in particular asked some very, very important questions. Councilor Yancey every single year would point out discrepancies in the budget and what was actually being spent by departments. He would point out disparities in representation in government, in where our contracts were going. So those causes and those efforts will still be taken up by committees. The Government Operations Committee's description was expanded to make sure that the oversight piece is there. Ways and Means will follow up on the budget piece, and then on the procurement and diversity and representation piece, we've actually created a new committee on jobs, wages, and workforce development that will focus specifically on that.
As the Bay State Bureau recently reported, it's expected that supporters of body cameras to be worn by Boston Police will probably file their measure again. Last year it went to the Government Operations Committee. It's sort of languished. It seems logical to put this into public safety and criminal justice, but I don't know. I mean, do you have a sense one way or the other about this?
The way that our procedure works on the council, every specific ordinance gets sent to government operations. That committee's purview is to truly vet the language as it fits in with the other ordinances that make up the Boston Municipal Code. So once something gets to that format, it is sent to government operations. Now there are all sorts of steps other than filing a specific draft ordinance that can lead to very fruitful and productive steps. That could include filing a hearing order, that could include convening some sort of working group or convening a task force, and those are not necessarily tied to any specific committee, but would be more likely to be sent to a public safety and criminal justice committee.
You mentioned some other goals, and one of your concerns was the quality of education in Boston. We're hearing a lot about the budget cuts these days. How do you see the council helping with that?
I believe that our role is to provide the voice for families, for students, for teachers, to really provide that extra platform about the education system. Councilor Tito Jackson is returning as our education chair, for which I'm very grateful. I think he did a great job over the last term. His vice chair will be Councilor Anissa Sabi George, who herself has been a teacher and so brings just a wealth of experience. And I think having that combination, along with the others on the committee and the council who are committed to truly speaking up for parents and students, I think we'll have a very strong team there.
Another issue confronting the council is you'll soon have to make a decision about the arbitration settlement of the police detectives settlement. And right now it looks pretty pricey. It could set a precedent for more of the same. We've already seen some of this. Is this a time for the council to sort of at least hold up and make sure this gets a hard look?
The order itself was just filed with the council, I believe, a few days ago, so it'll be officially entered at our next meeting. So we haven't gotten a chance to truly dissect it yet and understand what the numbers are, where they come from. This is the last contract to be settled in the previous round of negotiations, so it's the last piece. And much of it has, much of the terms that define the detectives' contract are impacted by the terms that were agreed upon or arbitrated upon for example, the patrolman's contract. So we're not talking about an expensive contract in isolation. There are a lot of things, other contracts and negotiations that led to what we see before us today. It is a council's role to fully vet that and evaluate the city's finances, our ability to fund the award, and other factors. So we'll definitely be taking a hard look at it.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
City Council President Michelle Wu. In a moment, solving problems on the T with fairness for all. But first, this message.